Coming up, my first-hand account of the devastation in Iraq, where Christians once thrived. See the damage left behind by ISIS. And White House snub, why some Super Bowl champs aren't coming to see the president. As Iraqi forces continue to battle the Islamic State, Christians in Iraq are struggling to survive. A team of us recently visited northern Iraq and saw firsthand the impact of the violence on the ancient Christian communities there. Tonight, we shine the spotlight on Christian persecution by taking you to a Christian town flattened by the terror group. This church in Betnaya is a stunning example of the terror Christian communities have endured under ISIS. The crucifix spray-painted with a large X. Another cross inside the church, riddled with bullet holes. Every Christian symbol in this small northern town in the Nineveh Plain is defaced or obliterated. The graveyard headstones are uprooted. Not even the dead are entitled to peace here. ISIS controlled this town for 2 years in the Kurdish region of Iraq. They were pushed out by Kurdish forces, backed by the U.S., late last year.
Was it farther north?
I spoke to the general who helped liberate this town.
It's our job to be here, to protect our people. No matter how they are Christian or Muslim or Yazidi, it's our job to protect them.
And now stands guard against ISIS, fighting in Mosul, 15 miles away. Iraq used to be home to several 100,000 Christians known as Chaldeans, Syriacs, or Assyrians for centuries. They have long suffered persecution and even genocide, most recently in the chaotic aftermath of the U.S.-led invasion in 2003. The church says when the Islamic State took over parts of Iraq in 2014, between 100 and 120,000 Christians fled. And the church estimates that 1.5 million Christians lived in the country in 2003. Now, the church says fewer than 200,000 remain. And it is expected that that number will continue to shrink. Joining us now is Philippe Nassif, Executive Director of In Defense of Christians. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Well, as you can see from the trip, it was quite an experience. That town of Betnaya, 90% of it was just completely flattened. You've been there. Absolutely. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, we've seen these images for years now coming out of northern Iraq where you have entire villages that have been depopulated, you have entire populations that have been displaced, and you have the actual physical infrastructure completely destroyed and eliminated. It's a campaign really of extinction.
It is, and you know, Archbishop Warda of the Archdiocese of Erbil told me that it's possible Christianity will be completely wiped out from that region. Mm-hmm. If not, at least maybe only 50,000 Christians will be there. Mm-hmm. And out of the Middle East altogether. You advocate safe zones. Tell me about that and how that can help Iraqi Christians.
Right, so like you said, and so as the Archbishop Warda said as well, you know, we're very concerned with the complete elimination of Christianity and religious minorities in the Middle East, especially in Iraq. So one of the things that we at In Defense of Christians are advocating for is the creation of safe zones, which would essentially protect the population that currently remains in these areas, provide security, stability, and then eventual economic opportunity to these people in these areas, allows them to return home and rebuild their lives. We already have the military assets in the region that are that exist to sort of protect these areas. It would be led by the United States and international coalition forces. But it's really the only solution to make sure Christianity remains in the region.
There are a lot of people who would disagree with you there,
Sure.
who say that, you know, Iraqis among themselves have difficulty getting along. And so how can you say that those people, along with U.S. folks, are going to keep these towns safe? Well, we would go through checkpoints. We went through one near Al-Kosh in the north, and they would not let anyone through who wasn't Christian.
Right. I think one of the differences between some of the folks that disagree with our approach is that they're not looking at it more holistically. What we want is self-governing areas where Christians and Yazidis can sort of administer themselves, protect themselves, and allow themselves to return home and rebuild their lives. These are autonomous regions, essentially, but we need a safe zone to be created across that area to make sure that people actually feel safe and can return home before the rebuilding begins.
What does the international community need to do right now?
Well, I think security, stability, and economic opportunity are the three big things that need to happen.
What about
right
food and
now.
medicine?
Absolutely. I mean, people are talking about, liberating these areas from ISIS, but they're forgetting the fact that ISIS didn't just drive people out or kill people. They destroyed crops, graveyards, all trace of human existence in these areas.
And there's no electricity, and there's no water, and
there's nothing.
They don't have any way of getting money to come back. So where does the money come from?
That has to come from the international community. The same way that we respond to a tsunami, the same way that we respond to other wars and civil wars and unrest, we need an aid package to be delivered that isn't just rebuilding, but is also food, medicine, infrastructure development, as well as securing these areas too.
All right. Well, we will most definitely be focusing on this issue a lot in the future. We hope you come back and join us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Philippe Nassif, Executive Director of In Defense of Christians.
Appreciate it.